The bell above my store's door jingled, but the woman who strode in wasn't here to buy anything. She was here to steal, and I'd had enough. I'm Jake, a 32-year-old small business owner running a cozy game shop in a quiet suburban strip mall, the kind of place where kids save up for Pokemon cards and retirees hunt for vintage board games. It's my livelihood, my passion, built from years of scraping by, and I pour my heart into keeping it welcoming. But for the past 3 months, a storm named Karen, yes, that Karen, had been wreaking havoc. She was the HOA president of the nearby gated community, a self-appointed dictator with a peroxide blonde bob, a permanent scowl, and a knack for making everyone's life miserable. She'd waltz into my store, her heels clicking like a countdown to chaos, and pocket anything small enough to fit in her oversized designer purse. Dice sets, card packs, even a $50 miniature I'd hand-painted for a display. At first I thought I was imagining things. Inventory goes missing sometimes. It's retail. But then I caught her on camera, and my blood boiled. She didn't just steal. She strutted like she owned the place, like she was entitled to my stock because she graced my shop with her presence. I'd tried confronting her once, politely, after noticing a missing deck of Magic, the Gathering cards. "Excuse me, ma'am, did you accidentally take something?" I'd asked, keeping my voice steady. Her eyes narrowed, and she snapped, "How dare you accuse me? Do you know who I am? I could have your little store shut down." Her voice was loud enough to turn heads, and I backed off, not wanting a scene. But the thefts kept happening. $20 here, $30 there, adding up to hundreds over weeks. My profit margins were razor thin, and every loss stung. Worse, she'd started spreading rumors in the HOA's online forum, claiming my shop was shady and overpriced, scaring off customers. I'd see her car, a gleaming white SUV with a vanity plate reading Quink, parked outside, and my stomach would churn. I couldn't afford to lose more, but I also couldn't afford to make an enemy of someone with her influence. She wasn't just a thief. She was a bully, using her HOA clout to intimidate anyone who dared challenge her. I'd heard stories, neighbors fined for leaving a bike on their porch, a family harassed over a slightly untrimmed hedge. Karen ruled her domain like a tyrant, and now she'd set her sights on my store. I started keeping a log, jotting down every time she came in, what she took, and what the cameras caught. The footage was grainy but clear enough. Her hand slipping a $15 dice set into her purse, her glancing around to make sure no one was watching. I'd installed the cameras after the first few thefts, hoping to deter her, but she didn't care. She'd even wave at the camera sometimes, smirking like she knew I couldn't touch her. My employees, a couple of part-time college kids, were too nervous to confront her. "She's scary, Jake," my cashier, Mia, whispered one day after Karen left with a suspicious bulge in her bag. "What if she gets us fired or something?" I reassured Mia, but inside I was seething. This wasn't just about money anymore, it was personal. I couldn't let Karen keep robbing me blind, but I had to be smart. She was connected, manipulative, and vindictive. A direct confrontation might backfire, especially if she rallied her HOA cronies to boycott my shop, or worse, push some trumped-up violation to get me evicted from the strip mall. The landlord was already breathing down my neck about late rent, thanks to Karen's thefts eating into my revenue. I spent nights lying awake, replaying every smug look she'd given me, every time she'd brushed past my counter like she was untouchable. I wasn't a vengeful guy, but something in me snapped when I checked the cameras one evening and saw her pocket a rare $75 collectible card right under my nose. She'd come in during a busy Saturday rush, when I was helping a kid pick out his first D&D book, and used the chaos to her advantage. The audacity of it, stealing while I was teaching a 12-year-old about dragons, lit a fire in me. I wasn't going to let her win. I started researching, digging into local laws, HOA regulations, anything that could give me an edge. I learned shoplifting was a misdemeanor, but repeated offenses could escalate, especially with proof. I had the footage, the logs, and a growing pile of evidence, but I needed more than a police report. I needed to catch her in the act, publicly, in a way she couldn't wiggle out of. My plan started forming. I'd bait her, let her think she was getting away with it one last time, then bring her world crashing down. The next time she walked in, I was ready. I'd placed a shiny new display of limited edition Warhammer figurines near the counter, each tagged with a subtle security chip I'd invested in after her last heist. They were expensive, eye-catching, and exactly the kind of thing Karen couldn't resist. Sure enough, she showed up that afternoon, her purse swinging like a weapon, her eyes scanning the store like a predator. "Nice new toys," she said, her voice dripping with fake charm as she lingered by the display. My heart pounded, but I played it cool, ringing up another customer while keeping her in my peripheral vision. She thought she was slick, slipping a $60 figurine into her purse while I was distracted. I let her walk toward the door, my pulse racing, knowing the security chip would trigger the silent alarm I'd wired to my phone. The app pinged, confirming she'd crossed the threshold with the tagged item. I stepped out from behind the counter, my voice calm but loud enough for the other customers to hear. "Ma'am, I need to check your bag before you leave." Her face froze, then twisted into that familiar sneer. "You're accusing me again? I'll have your business license revoked," she shrieked, clutching her purse tighter. The store went quiet, all eyes on us. I held up my phone, showing the alarm alert, and said, "The security system says otherwise. Open the bag, or I call the police." Her eyes darted around, realizing she was cornered, and for the first time, I saw a flicker of panic. She started yelling, calling me a liar, a fraud, demanding to speak to my manager, as if I wasn't the owner. Customers were filming now, their phones out, and I knew this was my moment. I dialed 911, keeping my voice steady. "I'd like to report a theft in progress at my store." Karen's face went pale, but she wasn't done yet. She lunged for the door, thinking she could bolt. That's when the real chaos started. Karen's heels skidded as she lunged for the door, her purse swinging wildly. But I was faster. I'd anticipated this. She wasn't the type to go down quietly. I stepped in front of the exit, blocking her path, my phone still pressed to my ear as I spoke to the 911 dispatcher. "Yeah, she's trying to leave with stolen property right now," I said, loud enough for the growing crowd of customers to hear. Their phones were out, capturing every second of Karen's meltdown. Her face twisted into a mask of fury, eyes wild like a cornered animal. "You little punk!" she screamed, jabbing a manicured finger at me. "You think you can trap me? I'm friends with the mayor. I'll ruin you!" Her threats echoed through the shop, but I stayed calm, my heart pounding with a mix of adrenaline and grim satisfaction. The silent alarm had already pinged the local police, and I knew they were on their way. I'd spent weeks preparing for this moment, consulting a lawyer friend who'd walked me through the legalities of citizens' detainment in a shoplifting case. I wasn't about to let her slip away. "Ma'am, stay where you are," I said firmly, gesturing to the purse. "That figurine you took is tagged, and the police will want to see it." Karen clutched her bag tighter, her knuckles white, and started ranting about how I was harassing her, how she'd sue me for defamation. The customers, a mix of teens, parents, and a couple of my regular D&D players, weren't buying it. One kid, barely 16, muttered, "Lady, just give it back." And the crowd murmured agreement. Karen's eyes darted to them, realizing she was losing her audience. She tried a new tactic, softening her voice, batting her lashes. "This is all a misunderstanding," she cooed, stepping closer to me. "I was going to pay for it, sweetie. Let's just talk this out." Her fake sincerity made my skin crawl, but I wasn't falling for it. I pointed to the camera above the counter. "The footage doesn't lie, Karen. You've been stealing for months. I have it all recorded." Her mask slipped, And for a split second, I saw raw fear before she doubled down, screaming, "You're framing me!" That's when the police sirens wailed outside, red and blue lights flashing through the shop's windows. Two officers stepped in, a tall woman with a no-nonsense vibe and a stocky guy who looked like he'd seen every excuse in the book. The crowd parted, and I calmly explained the situation, showing them the alarm alert on my phone and pointing out the tagged figurine in Karen's purse. "She's been stealing from my store for weeks," I said, handing over a USB drive with the compiled footage. Every theft, time-stamped, backed up, and ready. The female officer, Officer Ramirez, raised an eyebrow at Karen. "Ma'am, open the bag." Karen's face went from pale to beet red. She started stammering, claiming I'd planted the item. But the officer wasn't having it. When Karen finally opened her purse, after a dramatic huff, the $60 Warhammer figurine tumbled out, still in its packaging, the security chip blinking faintly. The crowd gasped, and someone in the back let out a low whistle. "Busted," a customer muttered, and a few others chuckled. Karen's bravado crumbled. She tried to spin a story about how it accidentally ended up in her bag, but Officer Ramirez cut her off. "We'll sort this out at the station. You're coming with us." As they cuffed her, Karen's shrieks hit a new pitch, echoing through the strip mall. "This is outrageous! I'm the HOA president! You can't do this!" The second officer, reading her rights, didn't even flinch. I watched, feeling a weight lift off my chest, as they led her to the squad car. Customers were still filming, and I knew this was going viral. But I wasn't done. I'd learned from my lawyer friend that Karen's HOA position gave her no real legal power over my business. But her influence had scared off customers, so I took the fight to her turf. The next day, I posted the footage online. Not just the arrest, but a montage of her thefts, carefully edited to protect my store's image while exposing her. I shared it on the HOA's forum, tagging every resident I could find. The response was explosive. Neighbors started spilling their own Karen stories. Fines for kids' chalk drawings. Threats over holiday decorations. By the end of the week, a petition to oust her as HOA president was circulating, with hundreds of signatures. I also pressed charges, and with the evidence I'd gathered, the case was airtight. Karen was charged with multiple counts of shoplifting, and the judge, unimpressed by her "I'm a pillar of the community" act, slapped her with a fine and community service. My store became a local legend. Sales spiked as people came in to hear the story firsthand, and I made sure to thank every customer who'd filmed or shared the video. The strip mall's landlord, who'd been hounding me, even apologized after seeing the footage, offering me a rent break to keep the good vibes going. Months later, I heard Karen had moved out of the neighborhood, her reputation in tatters. My shop was thriving, and I'd even started a loyalty program for my regulars, who now called themselves the Karen Busters. Standing behind my counter, watching kids flip through comics and parents browse board games, I felt like I'd reclaimed my space. I'd turned the tables on a bully who thought she was untouchable, and it felt damn good. What would you have done? Share your own HOA stories in the comments below.